Hallo ihr Lieben, wir sind zurück mit der Popsession, der Sendung mit der großen Obsession für Pop. Im Alex Radio auf der 91.0, im TV und natürlich online. Mein Name ist Madlen und mein heutiger Gast ist Mary Ochers, Musikerin, Lebenskünstlerin und Berliner Exzentrikerin. Die gebürtige Russin ist in Israel aufgewachsen und lebt und schafft seit 2007 in Berlin. Ihre Musik ist nicht mit gängigen Genrebezeichnungen zu beschreiben. Sie ist experimentell und schräg, arbeitet mit vielen Rhythmen, verschiedenen Sounds und pendelt unaufhörlich zwischen gewohnten und ungewohnten Musikstrukturen. Im letzten Jahr hat sie gleich 2 Studioalben herausgebracht: The West Against the People und The Faust Studio Sessions and Other Recordings, beide Alben auf dem Kraut-Label Klangbad. Bevor wir aber in die Tiefe gehen, hören wir uns erstmal den ersten Track, The Endlessness, an.
You'll hardly find place
Das war The Endlessness von Mary Ocher. Hello, Mary. Thank you for being my guest today.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me.
Lovely to have you here. How would you describe what you do musically, despite of all terms and genre definitions, just in easy words, pictures?
It is pop music. Easy for consumption, produced for the masses, for every toddler to enjoy and appreciate in a free world where there's justice and peace.
Is that so?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then I will go on. In the documentary Durch die Nacht mit, you said that other art forms are just an extension of your music. Wherein lies the connectivity of different art forms in your idea, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, it's sort of as though one thing needs the other thing. Because if you have a picture, of course, you would also have an audio, and I like to have that complete control over things. Even though my technicality sometimes is quite limited, I still like to make sure that that it all blends together, and then the people that I work with have a really precise understanding, so that we don't end up falling apart, which of course sometimes tends to happen. And so I mean, I've been doing it since I was a very small kid. It's not as though I woke up one morning and I was like, hey, I feel like I should also be doing video, and I should also be doing some drawings. Like, it was just something you happen to be doing, and you don't necessarily think about it. You don't overthink the process. It's just something that you do.
We listened to The Irrevocable Temple of Knowledge by Mary Ochers. Your recent album is pretty political. The songs have very strong lyrics, and you even wrote a same-titled essay accompanying the album. Would you say that you create conceptual music?
Poof. Well, the moment you do that, you really pinpoint yourself and alienate a whole bunch of people. So I don't think I make conceptual music. I think it's part of like a big conceptual universe, or a universe that of course has some sort of guiding element. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it's restrictive or limiting. I think it's just another one of these extensions.
So, but why would it be so alienating, like so exclusive?
I think specifically in the past 15, if not even 25 years, political work in any field has been sort of contaminated. Like people think that maybe it's somehow taking off the quality or taking off the vitality or whatever is making it interesting. And I think that politics are extremely important and they sieve into every element of our lives, so you can't really separate the two.
Mm-hmm. So it's more like you've been influenced by certain ideas and mentalities, socialization, and you are the ventile. Art comes through you, and it is not like, I'm going to do this and that, but it is the result of your person and your influences.
Well, essentially, maybe it's totally natural in my position, having grown up in one place and having two particular nationalities that are not particularly liked in the world right now, which is Russian and Israeli. It's just something that I cannot avoid. I cannot escape. And I think there's so much happening right now that it's really, really interesting. It's a particularly interesting time, terrifying time, but also there's so much to talk about. And it's relevant to everyone.
So how does your creative process look like if it's not conceptual in the first step? How do you start?
There's basically no particular structure. The idea was to really break down the initial steps of trying to approach a song or like a composition. So I got a whole bunch of new instruments. I've also been brainstorming for even more stuff that we could use in the studio. And luckily, the Fall studio, which is far in the south of Germany, close to the Swiss border, has so much stuff in there as well. We could also use a lot of percussive instruments and additional things that we didn't have access to in Berlin. And I've also been collecting ideas for sounds that can be produced with the mouth or different body parts or just particular noises that I liked, and I would kind of like note them, make tons and tons and tons of lists, and I had an entire notebook that was just a collection of like snippets of ideas, and for 4 or 5 months I've just been working with these notes. Some of them we would actually turn into more traditional songs in the rehearsals with the drummers, and some of them would just kind of be long pieces that I would work on by myself and make demos of in my bedroom, and then there were some pre-recorded pieces that were later kind of reworked into a collage, like the piece with Felix Kubin that was really made of just a puzzle of like tons of things that he had sent me, and I kind of just put them together and then did some overdubs.
Do you always have a strict idea before you go into a topic? Like, where did this topic, the West, come from? Is it, you're laughing, does that mean it's like, because of course, if I see your album, I think, wow, okay, it is an idea which you worked on, and it's maybe an idea which was meant to be from the beginning, but sometimes also, you know, like songs come together and then at the end you form the idea of an album. I'm just curious which way it went. Maybe it is too much to talk about, but...
Actually, I think it's pretty simple. I think that in the process of recording, I still haven't had the title of the album. Later, when going through the songs, I realized that there's a common core to a lot of them. A lot of the subjects were dealing with something that I could summarize in that title, The West Against the People. And it clicked in my head. Still, when I thought of it, I thought this probably is not going to be very interesting to a lot of people. And I was so blown away when actually the press picked up on it, and so many journalists were curious about it, and so many people were interested in it, which I really, really did not expect.
Do you think artists are somewhat negotiator or middleman, middlewoman between the society, the people, and reality, or like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm wondering, you were saying that making conceptual music would be too exclusive, and you have to think of it more of a big thing. But at the end, you are actually bringing over a message now, to be explicit, with your album. And is that a link between things that are going on and the people, the audience listening to it?
I think that I'm definitely no representative of a mass. And if anything, this music only appeals to a very, very small group of people that are interested in these particular things. And just the very nature of it, you have to have the luxury of time. You need to sort of be able to have free time to explore weird music and weird shit. If you're working 10-hour jobs and you come home and you're exhausted, it's not very likely that you will actually have that luxury. Therefore, I think that we're extremely privileged to even be in a position to sort of be interested in these very esoteric things and sort of sort of analyze ourselves, analyze the society we're living in. It's also one of the themes that I'm actually questioning, because I think it's very, very important that we realize that we realize we're such a tiny fraction of the population of the world. I was born a stranger in this country's past. Songs and prayers across their bare chests. Who am I supposed to please? What am I supposed to praise? I was born a stranger, and a stranger I shall pass. With their sacks across their knees and the lines across their face. These are born to please, and these are born to hate. These are worth $1 million, and these are worth a dime. I was born a stranger, and a stranger I will die. I was born a stranger in this country's past. Songs and prayers across their bare chests. Who am I supposed to please? What am I supposed to praise? I was born a stranger, and a stranger I shall pass.
We listened to Across Red Lines by Mary Ochers. Your album, The West Against the People, and its corresponding essay deal with problems of discrimination and disparity. You talk about power and gender, and you look at authority and identity within the constructed concept of the West. You experienced the Russian culture. You were born there, and then you lived in Israel, so you know about the Israeli culture, and now you live in Germany. These are three completely different cultures, lifestyles, societies, mentalities, but all of them, I guess, are dealing with the topics that you are dealing with in your album and your essay, topics such as discrimination, disparity, power. How did your upbringings influence the creative process of the album and the choice of the topic? The topic which is, in the broadest sense, a critique of capitalism, really. You have a huge insight in three big cultures.
Yeah, all these topics are relevant in any place in the world at the moment. They're not particular to any culture, but it's a really interesting time to experience because things are extremely chaotic. The subject of nationalism is rising again, which is something that was particularly close to me when I was growing up, in a place that was predominantly, fundamentally, from its very core, making a very, very, very clear distinction between people of one nationality and people of all other nationalities. So I grew up in a country that basically told me that Jews are better than other people, which is the completely wrong conclusion to come to. If you're being discriminated, discriminating somebody else is not the solution. And this is not just Jews against Palestinians. It's about any person against any other person. And now traveling to places like Scotland or Barcelona, and I see people who are by definition left-wing, and they think that their type of nationalism is different. They think that this type of independence movement is positive. And it's fascinating to see because it's completely outside of the other context, this context of sort of just using power. But nationalism also comes when you feel that you're being oppressed, that somebody else pushes their identity onto you. And of course that they think is sort of the positive nationalism. But I think that the moment that any group of people seizes power, all of a sudden that feeling of unity becomes something quite violent, and it always seems to cause exactly the same thing. It becomes pride. It becomes this ugly, sort of vicious and dangerous force. And it scares me to see people my age who think that they're going to be different.
Do you think there will ever be a possible solution of a different system? Do you believe in something like anarchism? Is that possible, or is it just a mere utopia, an ideal which relies on its impossibility of its realization? Is there something that, or do you think it's just the way it will be? It is, and we will always be in some kind of structure or concept with power problems, and therefore always be struggling with these issues.
Power is a really basic human capacity. I think it's delusional to try to erase that. I think anarchism is a symbol of a utopia that could only exist when individuals have a really, really basic idea of equality, which is quite up in the air at the moment. I think that not all structures made specifically by the West are evil and dangerous. I think the structures in general are dangerous, wherever they come from. There's really no system that has sort of reached some sort of perfection. It seems that each system that we come up with, humanity comes up with, is always flawed in some way. There's so much that is being regurgitated. I cannot pronounce that word. Maybe we can cut it out. So much that is being repeated. And so much superstition and so much prejudice. And it really breaks my heart to see that I thought that by now we would be in a different place. I thought that I could talk to a person from Lebanon or Syria and we would kind of talk about post-nationalism. We would talk about the world as individuals and not as citizens of countries that hate each other's guts. And it shocks me to see that even though the subjects that I'm talking about are anti-nationalism and authoritarianism, I'm still seen as the enemy in so many parts of the world just because I have the blue Israeli passport, even though I have another passport. And it seems like there's so much confusion And you sort of, you see the same spite from what I consider to be the mainstream Israeli. I don't know if the mainstream is changing in the past 10 years that I haven't lived there. But I left a country that was extremely right-wing. I left a country that sort of, its majority were people who didn't even see any sort of problem with this sort of national identity. And people like myself and everybody I knew were considered to be crazy radicals just because we didn't believe in like a nationalist superiority. And it seems absurd, but to them I'm a traitor. And to everybody around I'm an enemy.
It's a big topic in a very, very short time, but thank you very much for coming, Mary. We will listen to one more song of yours after we said our goodbyes. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Liebes Alex-Publikum, das war's schon wieder. Die Popsession neigt sich dem Ende zu. Diese Sendung gibt's nicht nur auf der 91.0 und im TV, sondern natürlich auch online auf unseren Mediatheken. Bei Alex Radio gibt es anschließend noch ein Mixtape zu hören, das Mary Ochers mitgebracht hat. Jetzt hören wir den letzten Song von Mary Ochers für heute Abend, Baby Indiana. Ganz tolles Musikvideo, by the way. Checkt das mal aus auf YouTube. Thanks. Vielen Dank an Mary Ochers und bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao, ciao.
Bolts and a glowing flame. Have you tasted sweetness of a harp when knife sliding down